Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the Colorado Legacy Foundation Healthy School Champions Scorecard webinar. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you would like to ask a question during the presentation, please use the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen. If at any time you need to reach an operator, please press *0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Thursday, November 15th, 2012. I would now like to turn the conference over to Katie Fleming and Grace Lynn. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Catherine. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. This is Katie Fleming, and I'm the Healthy School Champions Scorecard Manager. With me is Grace Lynn from Creative Media Solutions, and we'll be co-presenting on the webinar today and answering your questions. Just to give you a little bit, we're going to give a little background on both of us so you know who we are and why we're here. I'm, as I said, the manager for the Scorecard program as sort of a collaboration between the Colorado Legacy Foundation and the Colorado Department of Education. My past experience in coordinated school health is working as the district coordinator for Boulder Valley School District, the coordinated school health coordinator. A lot of coordinators in there. And then being the consultant to Catalyst High School in Lafayette, setting up their coordinated school health program. And I'm going to turn it over for Grace to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. This is Grace Lynn, and I am with Creative Media Solutions, and I support the Scorecard Marketing and Communications. And thanks so much for joining us today. We're hoping to make you scorecard experts today.
And comfortable. Just a few thank yous before we get started. We're really fortunate in Colorado to have such a number of collaborative partners supporting school health, as you all know. I mean, you're here joining us to do the exact same thing. The Healthy School Champions Scorecard is funded by the Colorado Health Foundation, and it's also supported by the Colorado Legacy Foundation, the Department of Education, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, RMC Health, and others. So together with those other organizations and all of you, and all the school health leaders around the state, forming the Colorado Coalition for Healthy Schools, is the interagency and statewide coalition supporting the systems to promote school health. We're kind of all in this together. So we just want to be sure we thank all of you, because we wouldn't be able to keep moving forward on this work if it weren't for all of you and all these organizations. And just a few housekeeping things to let you know during the webinar. You can submit questions anytime. Just raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button in that upper left corner there. And then enter your questions by typing in the chat with presenter box in that lower left-hand corner. And then just hit send. And we've got some breaks throughout where we'll be answering your questions. And then another thing we've got in a few places during the webinar, we want to just make sure that we're actually satisfying your needs today. And so we will do some real quick little surveys, just a one-question survey to be able to ask you that if we're taking care of your needs. So today's objectives for this webinar is to identify just ways to use the scorecard. And we want to emphasize the fact that you can really use it in two main ways. You can use it as sort of a program evaluation tool where you evaluate and where you stand right now with your healthy school efforts, plan, and then implement your work using the tool. But we also use it as a way to recognize your school and establish some awards. So we're going to walk through as well the healthyschoolchampions.org website and the tool. So those are the major objectives, with the agenda being that we're going to do an overview of the scorecard. We're going to address a little bit, because some of you have done this before, so we're going to address some of the updates and the improvements to the tool and sort of the simplification. Hopefully it'll feel that way. And then walk through the website and the tool, and then also just take a look at some important dates and deadlines, information about the summit. So the overview of the tool is this, came about as a 4-year grant from the Colorado Health Foundation to implement the scorecard. So those of you who have used the School Health Index, I'm sure are going to recognize similarities or have used this tool before. And so this year we've tried to simplify the tool and remove or maybe modify a few questions, and that came as a result of your feedback. That, there were things like questions in there before that ask about your district's efforts, and this is really a school-level tool, so you didn't really have any, if you were a school applying for an award or using it for program planning, you didn't really have much control over what the district was doing as a whole. So we pulled out those questions that were district-specific. And we've also added some support documents because things like asking people to write a story that was interpreted in different ways. So now we've got more of a template where that will help, and we'll get into the template a little bit later. And our goal is to continue to make improvements in the tool and provide increasing support as you need it, really through our partnerships. We've got, again, we're so fortunate on the partnerships. So again, the overview of the tool itself is it can be used for program evaluation and planning, where you can just either, if you're just getting started or no matter really where you are in the process of implementing coordinated school health efforts, is that you can assess and monitor your progress. Something that's new this year is that we thought, there are some schools that really haven't started at all. And so we realized before that when people were looking at the scorecard, they said, well, geez, I haven't done anything. Why would I even start this process? And we really want to encourage schools to, even if they're just beginning, to start to plan some coordinated school health efforts. So the seed money is, there aren't going to be a lot. There will just be a few seed money awards. But that way for schools who can say, this is what I would like to do. I know what some of the best practices are from the information you've supplied, and so here's how we'd like to put that money into work. So we've got about $42,500 available, and there'll probably just be, as I said, just a few seed money awards given out. So most of the awards will be given to what we call the Healthy School Champion Awards. There's no limit to the number of years that a school can apply. So you do, though, however, have to create a brand new profile. You have to start over with this year's tool because of the fact that we made some changes in the tool. So again, why use the scorecard? So for the program evaluation, just, we want you to learn how to just get started in becoming a healthy school, and then learn how to about your school's areas of strength in being a healthy school. So it's one of the things that you can, use the tool is to be able to say, geez, we're not doing so bad. We've actually got some great efforts in place. And then also to get some, really specific feedback on the areas that you would like to improve. The nice thing I think about the scorecard, it's really kind of unique in the nation in that we've got both a quantitative and a qualitative way for you to assess your coordinated school health efforts. It's really a great way to establish kind of a roadmap with priorities because as you all know very well, I know for me when I was a district level coordinator, you just get bombarded with lots of people from the community and elsewhere who all say, hey, here's a good idea, and here's some money that's available, but it doesn't allow you to set your own priorities by responding that way. And what the scorecard can do is actually allow you to kind of stay focused and, set some priorities so that you don't become too scattered in trying to address too many health issues with hit or miss kinds of efforts. And then, of course, the other thing besides the program planning, implementation, and evaluation is to actually just be recognized. And that is, again, where it's a little bit unique, I think, in the nation in that we actually have this award money to be able to recognize and other awards as well. There were some schools that were recognized last year who didn't necessarily get money but still were recognized for their great efforts. Schools are, one of the things we want to make sure is that people fall in a wide range of stages in terms of their efforts. So just because you haven't, since arrived at doing, addressing all 8 component areas of coordinated school health and been exactly where you want to be doesn't mean that you wouldn't be considered a healthy school champion. So, for instance, last year we had award, for those of you who don't know, we had award money prizes from anywhere from $500 up to $3,000 and $5,000 for one district. So really the Healthy School Champion Awards can be a whole range of efforts that people have started in their school. So schools who are further along will obviously be eligible for higher awards, but many really are on the path to becoming a champion. So the key is really to use good practices in your program evaluation, your planning, your coordination between the various areas of coordinated school health, and implementation. So that's where we hope that we're providing better guidance this year. In terms of who should use it, again, schools who are just getting started, schools that are already actively engaged in the process, and then schools who were recognized in the past. So in general, schools. So we're pretty clear about that. So the updates and the improvements, for those of you who have used it in the past or even were school champions in the past, hopefully this will be an improvement for you. Last time we had people submit stories on what they were doing in each of the 8 coordinated school health component areas. And what we found is that people, really had to stretch to sort of use the same story over and over. And in looking at that, our whole sort of scorecard leadership team said, well, geez, the bottom line is how are people coordinating and planning and implementing their school health efforts and making sure the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. So the difference this year is that we've really just got one story, and that we're providing a story template with some specific questions that are based on those good practices, so that you can sort of be guided in saying, do we have a school health team? Who's on that team? Do we have administrative support? So the kinds of things that, the roadmap and other guidance around coordinated school health has said, here are some good ideas, and as well as the Duffy-Doyen report that you will have access and Grace will talk to about, here are some really good ideas for doing that. The other thing that's new is the scoring rubric, so that you will know ahead of time, here's what the awards scoring is based on. We tell teachers to use scoring rubrics with their students, and we thought we should sort of practice what we preach. And then we did add a letter of support from a community partner. Last year there were only 4 letters. This year we added another one, and the addition this year is that those can be uploaded with the online application pretty easily. And hopefully our instructions are clearer and a little bit more detailed as well. And then the questions are a little bit more refined, as I mentioned, so that they're not inappropriate questions. So we'd like to stop for a second. We know that's, we're trying not to overload you with, sorry for the phone in the background, too much information all at once. But if you would like to submit questions in the chat box so far, and hopefully some of those will be answered for you as we're coming up. But does anybody have any questions they'd like to submit into the chat box? I'll give you just a second. Okay, well you can continue to put your questions into that box as we move along. So feel free to do that. I know we really haven't gotten into the content itself yet, so you may not have questions just yet. Now Grace is going to kind of walk you through the whole process itself of looking at the website and the application and the whole bit.
Hi everybody. Here's Grace again. And as Katie said, I'm going to walk us through some of the resources that are available to you, and also the scorecard tool itself, so that we want everyone to be successful. So that's our goal, and we want to show you some things that we think will help you be successful this year. The healthyschoolchampions.org website is the first place you probably want to visit if you're planning to complete a scorecard tool. There's really good information about the scorecard, about coordinated school health, and there are some things you want to download before you start the online scorecard tool, and we'll look at a few of those here more closely. So this is the home page for healthyschoolchampions.org, and a good place to start, you can see at the top there is the Champion Showcase, and this is where you'll find some information about past champions and their successes. There's a downloadable Champions magazine that features success stories from previous years, some photos, and highlights their successes. You can get to that in a couple places here. Both are circled. You can click on that Champion Showcase up top, or underneath the kids there's a logo that you can link. But this is what you'll see if you click on the Champion Showcase. And here's the resource that Katie just mentioned, the Duffy Doyen Consulting. They captured some key characteristics in these two summary reports that you see here. And they're going to be sharing more about those in a webinar on December 11th, so mark your calendar for that, where they'll dig deeper into, what are some of the characteristics they've seen now that we've had the tool for a couple of years, what really makes champions champions. So also below that you'll see where you can download past champion magazines, and we call it a magazine because it really is that type of quick read, quick flip through, and you not only see who the past champions were, but you get ideas. I think there's some really neat and creative things happening around our state, and it's an opportunity to kind of fuel some ideas for you as well. So here is the coordinated school health area, and Katie mentioned the 8 components. And within this area, you'll get a lot of detail about what those 8 components are. And those are going to be really critical to have a good understanding of what those are to help you when you're writing your success or planning story as part of the scorecard online tool. As mentioned, this year, the good news is just one success story is required that shares how your school is successfully coordinating in the different in the different component areas. And Katie and I both wanted to stress that we understand there's kind of a range of where schools are in that coordination happening. And you shouldn't feel that if you're not firing on all cylinders, so to speak, that there aren't good things happening, that your school is not a healthy school. There's the option this year as well to submit a planning story. So if you really feel like your school is just getting started, those 8 components can help really guide that planning story you'll write, so you can really understand, where in those 8 components you want to be targeting your efforts moving forward. So back to the home page. This is back to the home page of the website. In the scorecard area, you'll find an FAQ. There's some common questions we've heard a few times, so there's answers there. There's a preview, which is a downloadable PDF file of the online tool. So instead of just jumping right into the online tool, you may want to download that and walk through it with your team, get your strategy together, and get your information together. And there's also a checklist because we know we're throwing a lot of information out there, and that checklist will be really useful to kind of summarize the steps we're suggesting that you take today. And you can get to this information a couple places. The 2 orange arrows, all go to the same place. We want to give you multiple ways to access the information. Oh, and Katie just pointed out that you can print that. It's a PDF. You download it. You can print it out and have it as a hard copy in front of you. And there's also a Word file. Okay, so the scorecard area is also rich with resources. And on this page, you're going to find these new tools, the story scoring rubrics and the story templates. And the rubrics, of course, as Katie said, best practice, it'll give you information about how your story is going to be scored. And the templates are there to help guide your story development. And we're going to dig deeper and show you a little bit more information about those. But here are places where you can access those on the healthyschoolchampions.org. And the checklist, as I mentioned, it's a summary list. You might want to print that out, and you can track your progress through the different steps and things that you need to accomplish in order to successfully complete the scorecard. So that, I think, covers the key resources that you'll find on this website. And so now that you kind of have your mind wrapped around this in a really good way, the next step would be to start the scorecard. And the first step to doing that would be registering your champion or your point person. That's going to guide your team in completing the scorecard. And these two buttons, one is start the scorecard and one is resume the scorecard. And we want to emphasize that you don't have to go in and complete it all in one sitting. And we actually encourage people to revisit it, go back, look at what you put in there. So it's designed to be friendly in that fashion so that you can go back in as your schedule allows you to complete it. So once you start the scorecard, you kind of shift interfaces, if that's the word for. You're going to actually go to this site, and this is your Healthy School Champions scorecard website. And there's a bunch of instructions here that you can review. And at the bottom, you have an option of clicking to begin a scorecard, or if you're resuming, you click that other button to resume the scorecard you've already started for this year. So when you click that, the first step, and actually we missed a screen here, but you'll have an opportunity to enter a contact email and a password. So this one doesn't show the password. I'm going back in because I already started my scorecard. This is what you'll see then. But you'll want to set up a username, email, and a password for your school. And once you enter that, you will be asked to select your the district and your school name.
I just wanted to add real quickly that we had a question of, well, what if I did this last year and I've forgotten my password? One of the things we want to point out is that because the scorecard tool has changed a little bit from last year, and it's a brand new 2012-13 scorecard, everyone will create a new point of contact, even if you're the same point of contact as last year. So you'll still go in, start a brand new scorecard, which is what shows up on that front page. It says, let's get started. And the only options you have are to click here to begin filling out a brand new 2012-13, or if you start it this year and need to go back to it, you can go back and update your 2012-13. But everybody, regardless of whether you've done this before or not, will need to enter a email address for somebody who will be your point of contact, and will need to enter a password. If for any reason at some point you accidentally lose your password, you can always email me and I can get it, get things squared away for you. But if you could, just write down your email address of the person who's the point of contact, and then the password. So essentially everybody needs to start over this year is I guess what we're trying to say. You won't need to worry if you can't find your password from last year.
Thanks, Katie. All right. Then when you're in the scorecard tool itself, there's this very handy Part 1 table that is going to help you keep track of where you are in completing the application. And the orange highlighted boxes are things we've just added here so we can talk about each of those. but you'll see in blue type the different sections of the tool, and there's 9 of those. And there's those little buttons to the left of them, and a green one means you've interacted with that section and you potentially have completed it. The red button means you haven't started that yet. In the middle, you have the number of items you've completed because each section has a different number of questions. So you may go in and have done 5 of 10, it would tell you. And at the very right is where you can edit that section. So it's kind of nice that it's not necessarily sequential. You can go in and out and edit the different sections as you complete the scorecard. So that was part 1. Part 2 of the tool is where you'll upload your planning or success story and your letters of support. Oh, sorry guys, Katie, we thought we were supposed to have a little poll question here, but we've lost it, so we'll just keep going. So the planning or success story, you will do one or the other. And what's nice this year is that you'll have an opportunity to upload those online, and we'll walk you through how to do that. And then the letters of support are only if you are completing a success story. If you're doing a planning story, you will not need to upload letters of support. So in part 1, if you click on one of those sections, this is what you will see. And this one has 5 questions. You see the section you're in described at the top. This one is a description of coordinated school health efforts. And at the bottom of each section, you'll see a little area that's information about and a button that you can click, Show. And you'll get a lot of information. If you have questions about this area and you're not quite sure what a question is about, those resources are available to you right there to help clarify any questions that you may have. Here's another example. This is the Assessment of Community, Family, and Student Involvement section. And there's radio buttons. Those are those little circles. And so you'll click in there, for whatever your answer would be. And when you've completed those questions, you click Submit. There's another spot that has more robust resources, and that's in that upper left tab of the scorecard window. And Katie, why don't you talk a little bit about that, because Katie just updated that area.
Yeah, it was a little trickier to update the resources under when you were, in the web or the scorecard tool itself. And let's say you just completed section number 1 on assessment of the community, family, student involvement, and then there's resources underneath that. The best place really to get your most comprehensive resources is by using that tab on the landing page when you first come into the tool where it says resources. It's got a full document, and in fact you might even want to print it out. It's 20 pages or download it, but that resources sheet that Grace is pointing to right there is completely updated, so it's probably your best source of web. There's mostly web page links and then some information and just information on terminology as well.
Yeah, and there's lots of links in there that are useful to the CDC, the School Health Index, School Health Improvement Plans, Colorado Legacy Foundation, RMC Health. This is a very robust, rich area of information for you. And then, again, we've given you several places where you can access those templates. So if you happen to be in the tool and you want to download the template, you can do that here. And this is also the PDF and Microsoft Word version of the scorecard tool in its entirety that you could print out and have a hard copy of. Now we have a poll. So would you guys take a minute to please answer this question? All right, let's move on and talk a little bit more about scoring. Rubrics we've mentioned a couple times, and also the templates that are available this year. So as far as scoring goes, when you complete your scorecard tool, you're going to see a score table that looks a lot like this. And it's by section. It'll show the number of items you completed, and it'll give you information that will help you understand better, I guess, your school's strengths and areas for improvement. And this will be especially helpful if you're using the scorecard as an evaluation and planning tool. In the example that's circled there, you can see assessment of school environment. That might be an area that this particular school would want to apply, for seed money to improve that and include that as part of their planning story. The templates are new this year, as Katie mentioned, to try to support you a little bit more in developing a story according to the different content areas that the scorecard tool asks you to respond to. So this template is available for download. It's a Word document, and you should definitely download and use this. And there will be 9 areas that you should respond to. Again, there were a couple places you could download this. It's always highlighted in blue if it's a clickable link. And so it's on the very first page of the online scorecard tool in Part 2. We circled there. And there's a couple places in the resource tab, as we just pointed out, and also in the Healthy School Champions site. So the story template is in Word, and what you'll do when you download that, you can do a save as to the template, so you keep the template original. And we would suggest that you add your school name to the file name, just to help us track with you. And you complete the template by answering the prompts and questions. For sure, save often, save frequently. Some of us get really creative and type something, and it's a wonderful answer, and then the power goes out or something terrible happens. So save frequently so you don't get frustrated. And if you choose not to answer a section, please put will not address, just so we know that you didn't inadvertently skip over a section, that you consciously did that. And then the rubric, which we're going to talk about, you should use the success story scoring rubric to really look at your responses, because you'll see where you're going to be evaluated, and that would be a nice check to do once you've drafted your story. So here's the rubric, which is brand new this year. And here's the first page of the success story scoring rubric, and it shows the 9 areas that your story will address and how the weighting will be distributed for those 9 areas. And this is for you to understand, number one, how the story is going to be scored, but it's also for the reviewers to evaluate the strength of the success stories that are submitted this year. It's a 3-page document, and you'll see that these 2 pages get into a lot more detail in terms of the range of score that your story areas will be given. So we mentioned we have a success story and we have a planning story, and the template is identical, except for the fact that the planning story is framed in what you will do, as opposed to the success story, which is framed in what you have done. If you decide to submit a planning story, we want you to know that there are limited seed money awards available this year. Up to 3 schools will be selected to help them implement their planning story with seed money. The template to help you write your planning story, again, exactly like the success story. It's all about what you will do, not what you have done. there's a look at the rubric for the planning story. So when you've crafted your stories, you've essentially finished part one of the scorecard tool. And now you're ready to upload your planning or success story. And if you're writing a success story, you're going to upload your letters of support. So you'll scroll down from part one to part two, and this is where you will you'll do this online. You'll want to, I'm just going to point this out, this begin this section is what you'll click on to start the process for uploading your story. Once you click on that, you see this very friendly interface that you'll pick that you're doing a planning story, you're uploading a planning story, or you're uploading a success story. And you can only do one. And then you'll click that Browse button, and that will take you to your computer, desktop, and files, and you'll find that file and select it, and then you click the Submit button. Kind of the same drill with the letters of support, which are only if you're uploading a success story. These are not required for a planning story. Click Begin the section, and you see this area where you browse for each of the different letters, and there's some information there about the letters of support, and you click Submit once you have all your letters queued up.
And I just want to, reinforce again that the letters of support, are just for the folks who are applying for a Healthy School Champions Award and not those who are doing a planning, because we felt like that'd sort of be busy work if we asked people who were just in the process of planning what they were going to be doing to also get letters of support for doing that. We kind of assume that you are going to have support of the community, but you won't know exactly how that looks just yet until you get into your planning and implementation. So the letters of support, just to be clear, are just for those who are actually applying for a Healthy Champions Scorecard Award and have done the success stories.
And a couple reminders about the letters. You may get those from the community as a Word document, or they may drop it off, and we're hoping you have you're able to scan those in to be able to upload them. If not, we have another way for you to get those to Katie by fax. And we only want one of each type of letter. More is not better. And we know sometimes in the past people have liked, sending photos and newsletters and other things, but at this point in time, those aren't needed. We really just need the letters, and we'll deal with other support documents down the road. If your school is selected as a champion, we'll be requesting those so we can put them in the magazine. All right, we're at another poll. A little feedback from you would be much appreciated. All right, any questions at this point? We did get one question. Will a recording of this webinar be available after today? And the answer to that is yes. It will be available on the healthyschoolchampions.org website by Monday.
And we'll put it on some other websites as well, but that just keeps it nice and straightforward, that you can go to that website and have that. What we suggest, in one way to use the webinar after this, is that when, we know we're just bombarding you with lots of technical kind of information and processes and steps. So what you might want to do is just sort of split your screen when you go to register for the scorecard, and then you can just kind of walk through the steps by using the webinar PowerPoint. So that's what we're hoping, it'll come in handy for that. And of course, just share it with anybody in your school or other people that you know that might be interested.
We have a comment and a couple questions here. The comment is, this is very cool. Believe it or not, this is my first webinar, so that's great. We have a question, does the letter, so those support letters, does the letter have a template? If so, where is the template?
No, we did not do a template. What we've asked people to, one way to give guidance in the past is to say, why is my school one of the healthiest in Colorado? And that sort of prompt is, if you're looking for a prompt to, and maybe that's something we could add to our site, as a helpful guidance. But if you're looking for a prompt, and you say to your students or your parents or whoever, of those 5 component areas, that's a good prompt to give them. Tell us why you think our school is one of the healthiest in Colorado. And that tended to be a pretty straightforward, simple thing to be able to give people in the past. And it was just that basic, because we found that if we got too structured in that, we didn't get the the really great creative letters, especially those ones that come from the students. They're just great.
We have a question, what is the dollar amount that the Planning Award will be eligible for, and what about the Success Award?
We don't have the exact amount yet, but basically the ballpark figure is that we would be doing about 3 $500 awards for the seed money or the planning awards. And then the entire amount that we have available is $42,500 for all the awards. Last year we had, I think, 32 awards, and they ranged. We had a lot of $500 winners, and then they ranged up to as high as $5,000. And we only had a few winners in the thousands of dollars. A lot of them were in 500. So what we found is it sort of depends on how many applicants we have, and what the range of the how far along people are in their stories. So and of course in their scorecard assessment tool. But that's essentially it, from 500 to, we don't know the top amount this year. We're trying to just make sure we get lots of money out there to lots of schools.
All right, now Katie's going to cover some dates, deadlines, and details.
All righty. So essentially, you can register today. We'd love to get you on to register as soon as possible. And then, the next step would just be getting your team together. And again, if you haven't done, I know a lot of you are very familiar with coordinated school health, so we hope this isn't too much of preaching to the choir. But if you are relatively new to it, again, use that website by doing your homework and looking at that, and so that you can get familiar with, well, who might be a part of the team that we would pull together. And ideally, it would be, people who represent those various coordinated school health component areas, but sometimes it's going to be a team that already exists in your school. And one thing I just want to throw in with that is, we're really hoping, I think it just adds to the legitimacy of health in our schools, the more you can connect this work as well to your overall school improvement plan. So again, just starting to pull that together. Start talking with your administrators and others in the school, if you haven't already, about how do I make sure that this becomes a part of the culture of the school, and get on the right team. So starting to do that, and then figuring out, do I want this to be a planning application or a recognition? But again, we do want to encourage most people to apply for the scorecard recognition, and just recognize that you may not have, sort of arrived yet to where you want to be, but you can still be a healthy school champion because of some of the great efforts. So that's the things we want to keep in mind. in terms of the other dates, so the deadline for the application is no later than January 10th. I think we did send out one email that you might have received that said January 11th in it, so just to point that out, it is January 10th, and then the awards will be announced in February. So yeah, if you're not the one who will start the process, then let somebody else know. And again, that could be a whole variety of people. It could be a parent, it could be a student, it could be somebody who's a community partner if there's not a teacher or a staff member in your school who have the time, to get going on it. So just, think broadly about who your champions are, because in the past at the different schools we have had different sort of leaders in the effort. Some have been principals, some have been parents, many have been, health teachers and nurses and just, anyone who's from those component areas. So the thing that we would like for you to do as well is keep in mind whether or not you're an award winner, that on April 17th in 2013 we'll be having the Healthy Schools and Integration Summit. And at that summit, it's a full-day summit with some really great speakers. We'll show the keynotes next. But we also have the Healthy School Champions Recognition Breakfast. This year, what's really nice is we're also going to include a little extra event the evening before for those who have been selected for the awards, because we wanted to just sort of really make sure that we treat you special as award winners, because we recognize how much great effort you've put into these things, into your work in your schools. So we'll be doing that, and then there's a luncheon as well as part of that. And we'll also be providing some transportation and registration benefits and hotel benefits to the schools who become award winners. And then there's scholarships for those who are not that you can apply for as well. But just a little bit more about I can't see their names right. About the summit itself. We've got some information about the two speakers, and we're both having a hard time. I'm trying. If you can see, it's one of those things where you're holding your eyes.
We've got Zeke Emanuel and Roland Fryer. And we apologize. We know that's tiny. We'll be sending out Legacy. We'll be sending out a teaser, if you will, about this summit with much more detailed bios about these two gentlemen. But we're excited because I think they'll set a nice tone and kind of a national perspective to the work that we're doing here in Colorado.
Really some high-quality folks coming to the summit this year and opening our summit as well. Another thing we're excited about, and I believe that Donna is on the call today or on the webinar today, is Donna Duffy and Mary Doyen from Duffy Doyen Consulting will be doing a second webinar on December 11th. It's not a repeat of this webinar. It's something different. It was sort of part two. And what they'll be doing is that Donna and Mary are the ones who created the report that really highlighted the past champions, as well as looking at, what are the keys to becoming a Healthy School Champion? What are the keys that are so important to pay attention to as good models of sort of those best practices out there? We're a little hesitant to use the word best practices because that term gets knocked around a lot, but at the same time we know that there are certain things that really contribute to the success of schools and their school health efforts. And Donna and Duffy will be sharing that on December 11th at the exact same time, also from 3:30 to 4:30 with time afterwards for more questions for anybody who wants to stay around. So that will give you more questions time in that webinar. And we're back to another quick poll, if you wouldn't mind. We just want to make sure that we're trying to meet your needs, and if we haven't, that we can provide more information to you as follow-up. So if you could just, again, real quickly, check all the statements in here that apply for today, and just take a few minutes to do that, that'd be great. Okay, and we're going to ask you to do one other quick one, just because we want to make sure that when we do this in the future, we do it in a way that works for you. So if you would also real quickly complete this one. And again, it's please check all of them that apply. Okay, and then again, we want to be able to answer any questions. So we want to give you just a couple of minutes here if you can sort of reflect on what you've seen so far today, because we're at the nearing the end. Could you just take a couple of minutes and think about it? And what still is hanging for you? Do you have any kinds of points that we were talking about today that aren't quite clear? Any questions about the difference between this year and last year? Anything about the awards? Anything about the tool itself? The difference between doing just the tool itself versus doing the tool and the success stories? Just any questions that you might have that aren't quite clear yet. Thanks, Donna.
So we're just going to answer one question that came up for us as we were doing this today. And we understand that there's some folks that have done a scorecard in the past. And last year we had people request to see their previous year's scorecard to help inform what they were doing in the subsequent year. And so once you log in, and you can use your email and a password, but once you enter that district and school information, you will have access to, if you have completed a scorecard in the past, a PDF or a Word file, Katie, of prior scorecard applications. So know that those are available to you if they would be useful.
And then, you may not, if you're like me, most of your questions will come up in the shower. So, if you're in the shower and all of a sudden you think of something you wanted to ask, just know that you are more than welcome to contact me. The best way to contact me is through email. I work Monday through Wednesdays as the scorecard manager. So I'm not in the office on Thursdays and Fridays, and I will sort of check in, now and then on email, whereas just because of meetings and things, I may not be as available by phone. So I would just encourage you to email me if you have any questions whatsoever. I do have a question here from Amy Diet. She said that she was at a school the other day who asked if they could see where they rank among other schools in the state, and can their scores be shared. We have said, thanks Amy, we said in the very beginning when on the page where people are actually completing their scorecard that all information will be held confidentially. And so that was one of the things that actually we had some schools really want that. And of course, I don't think Amy's talking about, saying exactly where people fall in each area of their components of coordinated school health, but we did say that we would hold that information. Now, one way that you can sort of see where people ranked in terms of the awards is just by the amount of awards that they were given, and that is in the Champions magazine, which is on the Healthy School Champions scorecard site. So, we had quite a few that are $500 award winners. So we don't really have a ranking. We've told people that their information of their scores that they come up with at the end of that first part of the assessment, that's the quantitative part of the assessment, is confidential, so we're not actually sharing that. And I guess the bottom line is, even though there are these awards, people are at such different places, and I think the key factor, and this is why we're glad to have this year, is really paying attention to that success story template that says, are you using these practices that are really commonly held to be solid foundational practices for coordinated school health, or even if you don't use that term coordinated school health, because I think it does throw people off. Just, are these good practices that are in the end going to, over time, result in a culture in your school that people don't even, Mary and Donna have pointed this out before, that people don't even think about it anymore. Their school becomes a school where health is foundational. They don't even have to say, well, we've got this sort of set-aside program. And I think that's where we're all heading. We're just trying to establish these schools that have a culture of health and an understanding that without healthy kids, they're not going to succeed. So that's, I'm not sure if it matters terribly then, really how we do rank, but that we're all supporting one another and getting there. So thanks, Amy. It's a good question. Other questions from anyone? Or anything that anyone wants to add before we head out for the day? You're all tired and you're ready to go home, or if you're not home already. Hopefully you're home doing this.
Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you tuning in, and keep December 11th on your calendar, and continue the conversation with us if questions pop up. Let Katie know.
Oh, thank you, Matt, Leslie, Lisa. Thank you so very much. And remember that we'll have this available by Monday for you to pull up and hopefully use in supporting you in completing the registration. Thanks, folks. Have a great weekend. I know we're not quite there yet, but almost.